Travel back in time with a trip inside the Iowa's News Now vault.
This unassuming white farmhouse outside Indianola is also a school. At least that's the way the people who live here feel. Linda Moorhead teaches her 4 children here using the Christian Liberty Home Study course. And to the people who run the Christian Liberty Academy in suburban Chicago, this is a satellite school. None of the Moorhead children was doing particularly well in public school, and the Moorheads blame the system. The children were taken out of school a year ago.
We've removed them from drug problems, juvenile delinquency problems, teachers who don't really care, and they're at home with somebody that really does care.
How many teachers are there that is there strictly for a paycheck? You know.
The kids say they miss their friends. The eldest boy, Rick, misses athletics. But when asked, they support their home instruction.
It's easier to get good grades, but it's harder and you learn more things. And you get to meet Christian friends, and you know that they'll have something in common with you than other people, like all they are worried about is smoking and other bad things.
Despite all the glittering accounts, the Moorheads are breaking the law. Norman and Linda have been convicted of keeping their children out of school. They've suffered through numerous hearings, high lawyers' fees, and are now moving out of state, all for one reason.
And I'm determined, we are determined, they won't go back to public school.
Despite all they've gone through to teach their children here, the Moorheads say they'd do it all over again. In fact, Norman Moorhead says the only thing he'd do differently would be to go after the authorities instead of waiting for them to come after him. In the next report, a look at what the state is doing about home instruction. Jim Shella, 2 Action News. These children are being taught at home through the Christian Liberty Home Study course. They learn reading and writing, but there's also a strong dose of God, the Constitution, and anti-communism. Their mother serves as teacher. The only certified instructors are with the Christian Liberty Academy in Illinois. This is known as a satellite school. Here at the offices of the State Department of Public Instruction, officials have been keeping an eye on the Christian Liberty Academy for a couple of years now. They say there's no way of knowing how many satellite schools there are in Iowa, and while they're not concerned about the philosophies being taught in them, they are worried about the education the students receive. The DPI has assisted in prosecution of people like Mardell Larson of Mason City, people who used the Christian Liberty course without the presence of a certified teacher. It has also asked for an Attorney General's investigation, a probe no one will comment on. But DPI Attorney Larry Bartlett will explain what the state sees as weaknesses in the program.
There was lacking a socialization, the idea that people have to work together and live together. The basics, reading, writing, arithmetic, were not very bad at all. They were pretty good in terms of materials. Things like music and art and physical education were totally lacking, as I understand it.
The state is also concerned about the way parents secretly take their kids out of school. Bartlett says they work clandestinely. In the next report, a close look at the Christian Liberty Academy and the man who runs it. Jim Shella, 2 Action News. The Christian Liberty Academy is nestled in Pine Trees, a relatively small building in the Chicago suburb of Prospect Heights. The only students around now are the children of the headmaster, Reverend Paul Lindstrom. But by fall, 150 to 160 will attend class here, and as many as 4,000 around the country will follow the same curriculum through a correspondence course. As many as 100 of those are in Iowa, and what they are learning is at times drastically different from what's taught in the public schools.
When we are searching for textbooks, generally we're looking for those textbooks that were published prior to 1950. And we do that because we find there's far less humanism, far less socialism, far less Marxist thinking, far less pro-abortion, pro-ERA, and so on type thinking in those older textbooks.
The Reverend's conservative thinking and influence go well beyond the school's walls. He has in the past organized mercenary forces in Southeast Asia and Rhodesia. He tells his followers to own and learn to use guns. When children are taken out of school to attend his academy, it's done secretly on his advice. He'll testify at any trial anywhere to try keeping his students out of public school. Some families have been threatened with losing their children for keeping them in his course illegally. It's possible that in a particular case, the children could be ordered taken from the parents. Reverend Lindstrom tells his followers what he would do if the authorities came after his kids.
I would simply meet them at the door with my riot shotgun. I would have my wife at a window with our M1. I would have the girls probably with the 22s and the boys with a 45 handgun and maybe the 357 Magnum. And I would simply say, we are going to remain in this house, and we are not going to allow you to come into the house to take our children, and if any attempt is made to come into the house, that we will have no alternative but to protect our home and to protect our children by firing.
Reverend Lindstrom figures that his Christian Liberty home study course will one day be tested in the U.S. Supreme Court, and he expects to win there. He says that if that were the case, the court cases against him would diminish, but he doesn't ever expect to be free of conflicts with state laws and the courts. Jim Shella, 2 Action News, Prospect Heights, Illinois.